The Transformation Motivation is a weekly podcast featuring people that have made extraordinary transformations within their health and fitness journey, and maybe even their life. The podcast is an opportunity for real-life transformation stories to discuss their story for others to relate to. Too many times, there are people with these social media transformation stories that have doctored up photos, so we want to highlight real people with real stories people can relate to. We'll get insider strategies, tips, step-by-step of how they did it, and challenges they faced along the way. Now, get ready for the Transformation Motivation Podcast.
Wait.
What's up, party people? This is Fit Emmett, and you're now tuned into the Transformation Motivation Podcast, where I bring on guests from all over social media that have made tremendous strides within their fitness journey, their health and wellness journey, and even within their lives. So I had a chance to bring on such a wonderful, beautiful, lively soul by the name of Miss Brandi. What's up, Brandi? What's going on?
Hi.
What's up?
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So Brandi's going to give us a little bit of her story. We had a chance to talk before the podcast a little bit, and she's full of energy, full of life, and I think she's got a message for everybody to listen to today. So Brandi, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So my name's Brandi. I am on my Instagram as Mama Brandi Gets Fit. I started this Instagram about 2 years ago. And why I started it was more for that transparency and giving people that reality of what it's like to kind of transform your body and to really pour into self-love. Oftentimes when we find weight loss pages, it kind of draws a lot of negativity in the sense of people feeling that they have to put themselves down or say, oh, I'm doing this diet and I'm doing this thing and feeling like, oh, I only lost such and such weight and things like that. And so what I kind of drew into was for my own self-healing. I stepped back and said, hey, it's important for me to look inward and say, I am beautiful the way that I am now, and I should not have fear of doing things that I've always wanted to do because I was a plus size woman or a woman in general. I started with walking, and I said, okay, I'm going to get out of my house. Me and my daughter, I have an almost 3-year-old, so she keeps me on my toes.
Yeah.
And it's like most women that after they have a child, they kind of go through this like, oh, I have to snap back right away. And it's such an overwhelming feeling because a lot of moms draw attention to this snapback conversation, and it's uncomfortable.
I feel like it's like pressure sometimes. I feel like it's like
it is.
Yeah.
It's almost like you talk to another mom friend and like, oh my gosh, since I had my baby, I've done this and that, and I'm like, whoa, can we just talk about like how are you sleeping? Are you sleeping okay? It's just like you get to drawing attention away from the way you look. And I think it's challenging being a part of body positive community and then also being someone who's lost weight. And what I draw to when I'm having these conversations or when I'm writing, I often find myself crying when I'm writing because I'm speaking out to that 12-year-old soul, my that 12-year-old self, or that teenager who's in high school and just beating themselves up. And it's just like loving your body and the transitions that you have with it through all walks of life. I don't care if you're a teenager, if you're in your 70s. It's like this passed down generation conversation of like, well, my mom said, or my grandma said. Sure. And these things it's something that we have to break the cycle. Yeah. And as a woman in this, stepping back and saying, you know what, I have to break the cycle. I have to talk about things that are uncomfortable. Yeah. And so I started to kind of cross that line with myself. It was so uncomfortable for me to say, gosh, you are beautiful. You are strong. You are worthy. You're capable, strong. I mean, those things, as tough as they are to say to yourself, it's so empowering, absolutely empowering. And So when starting this journey of fitness and saying, I had to get out of that mindset of, I have to go to the gym. It's not like having to go to the gym. It's wanting a space to release your anxiety, your stress, to overcome maybe a depressive episode. I unfortunately do suffer with anxiety and major depression.
Gotcha.
A little bit about myself in regards to my backstory. I've been through a lot. It's always interesting hearing myself say my story, but I lost my father when I was 13. And then my mother had come out shortly after that she was gay. And I had to adjust to that lifestyle of kind of having two moms. And then shortly after that, my mom got breast cancer and was terminal. And so I was going to lose my mother. And I became this role of sister mom where I took care of my siblings and food becomes control. So when I address these things with my social media and I say, hey, we're talking about a control factor here.
So when those times you felt like you didn't have control, you felt like you could control things.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I'm giving you the floor because this is good stuff, man.
It's absolutely a control, and it's a subconscious control. It's not an awareness of it. It's truly of like when you kind of hit a wall in the day and you get that moment to yourself and you're like, I just kind of caught myself eating a whole pint of ice cream or whatever and moving on,
Yeah. I can eat a whole bag of almonds and it just be nothing.
And that's the thing. It's something where you kind of step back and say, all right, fine. I'm going to go out to dinner with my friends and I don't care because I had a bad day and I'm stressed out. And those thoughts come to mind and it becomes a necessity when you're suffering. And it's, I started to physically wear this pain. And it was a subconscious kind of rebellion almost towards my mom, who was constantly down my throat of, you have to lose weight and you're not going to be accepted and this, that, and the other. And I say, with my mom, every time I tried to combat her of like, why do you talk to me like this? Or my sister trying to stand up for me, and my mom's go-to thing was always just, well, I want you to feel accepted. And in that, really created rejection. And it's really hard because a lot of women suffer from this, where they have a moment of pride and they put on an outfit they really like and they go show their mom and their mom's like, that shirt's too tight. Those shorts are too tight. And that just crushes you because you have a moment of confidence. And it's hard when the person you want to feel proud of you the most kind of pushes you backwards. So after losing my mom, this isn't my first time kind of going through a major weight loss. After losing my mother, I was probably about 256 pounds, somewhere around there.
Well, give us an idea of timelines and everything. Well, first of all, how tall are you and how much did you weigh, I guess, at your heaviest?
Yeah, so I'm 5'5", 5'6" on a good day, and at my heaviest, I was 287, and that was after my daughter. And I actually gained some weight after having my daughter as well. And I currently weigh 197. So I'm, so close to the 100-pound mark where, we're at that 90-pound mark. But I don't really like to focus on numbers. But a lot of the time people are curious and they say, oh, where's that at? And I said, my body looks like I weigh $180, right? Gotcha. And that's usually the guess when people are like, oh, if I had to guess, you weigh, $180, $185. And I'm like, I'm actually, 197. I'm still, but for me, it became about how I could build my strength. And I do in-body scans. I don't step on my scale at home and say, oh, this number, it's so hard, and
that's awesome right there.
Yeah, it's just, I shifted to watching my muscle gains. I shifted to saying, okay, I became ignited by Spartan races. Last year, I set the goal. I was like, I'm going to do a Spartan race. Like, this will keep me motivated. I was starting to elevate myself and say, I want to go to the next level because I was starting to go to the gym, but I didn't feel structure.
Sure.
And so I hopped on Groupon like a lot of us do.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this Groupon for my CrossFit gym, which is CrossFit Echelon. And I stepped into this gym, and I thought I was late, and the main coach, his name's Adam. He's absolutely amazing. I walked up to this man. He's burly dude, like he's a big dude, and he's like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, I'm here. And it was my first day was September 11th of last year. So I walked into a Hero WOD, and he's like, "So what do you do for exercise now?" And at the time I was, probably 235, 240. Sure. And I'm like, well, I go to the gym 4 days a week, and I do a lot of cardio, and I'm starting to lift weights. And I used to do CrossFit back, when I was in college. That first go around when I lost a bunch of weight, I did CrossFit before. And I said, I just really want to get back into it. And so he's like, all right, well, you come back at 8 o'clock because you're actually not here for class time, but you come back and you can be a part of the class. Uh-huh. And I pushed through that workout, and I stepped out of it. And it's just like so much melts away when you push your body. There's no words for the adrenaline feeling of when you feel on edge and you step into that box and you push your body for an hour or 45 minutes or whatever, and you really push yourself. Yeah. And you're sweating, you're almost crying because you're like, I feel the stress physically leaving my body. Yeah. I knew that's where I needed to be. Yeah. And so I started to go, 3-4 days a week, and I was training for the Spartan race. And I got to that Spartan race, and if you've ever done a Spartan race, the first thing you have to do before even the start line is get over a wall. Yeah. It's really truly a metaphor. And I don't mean to get kind of choked up on this, but I hit that wall, man. Like I hit that wall and I couldn't get over it by myself.
Gotcha.
And it becomes a metaphor for those who are transforming. Is you hit a wall. Yeah. And you have to kind of get to a point where you say, okay, it's time for me to find a trainer. Yeah. It's time for me to find a gym. It's time for me to find a buddy, something, anything to keep me accountable, something to push me further. And this guy comes up to me and says, you need some help. And at first I was like, just let me try one more time. And I couldn't get over that wall, man.
Sure.
And he hoisted me over that wall, and I was all embarrassed. My beat red, and I'm just like, all right, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna do this for myself.
That right there, that's such a good symbolism right there for just life in general.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We're put on this earth together for one another, and sometimes we hit that point in life where we just can't do it on our own.
Absolutely. And this is truly such a message with Spartan. Spartan is help your fellow person next to you. You are not in this race alone. Every Spartan I've done alone, but I've left with friends. I've left with people who I'm like, we finished this together. I met you halfway through the course. And it's like, we helped each other over these obstacles. And that's the thing, is this life is going to continue to hand you obstacles. It does not stop. It does not stop. You will hit a wall and you get over it, and you're like, all right, we're good. I catch my breath again. I broke some ground, and then boom, another obstacle.
Another wall.
And exactly. Yeah. And in my last race, I did the Spartan Super in San Jose. It was pouring rain. And I can't tell you how many times I cried on that field, because I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And I'm slipping and sliding and falling, and it's cold. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I didn't bring enough. Like my legs hurt, my knees hurt. And I fell off of an obstacle, and I really thought it was going to take me out of the race. And that adrenaline kicked in, and I'm like, I've only have 3 more miles. I was already 5 miles deep. Sure. And I said to myself, I only have 3 more miles. And it's kind of that, like, again, that metaphor piece. It's like, I only can keep moving forward. I can only keep moving forward. And that's where the momentum comes in. You have this momentum piece that once you start, you tell yourself, I can only move forward. And if I step backwards, or if I have an obstacle that's hard to get over, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to allow somebody to help you. Because I can't tell you how many times in my life where I'm like, I'm so strong. I've been through so much. I'm the oldest. I'm sister mom. I'm the friend that helps everybody.
Sure.
But it takes that one person that sees through that piece of you that's like this front of like, I've got this, and it's like, yes, you absolutely have you have it. You can do anything, but never be afraid to accept the love from another person who says, I see you. I see you. I believe in you. My coach
Yeah.
always says, you're stronger than you think. You're stronger than you think.
Always.
And that just really penetrated me in this, like, when I have these moments of self-doubt, I have to remind myself, you're stronger than you think, physically, mentally, emotionally. And as I grow and learn to step back and say to myself and continue to say to myself, you're going to do the next thing. You're going to do the next thing. I have been training and continuing to train. I have a Spartan Beast coming up next month, September 30th in Tahoe.
Exciting.
And those beasts, it's 17 and a half miles. And I step back and I say, this is a half marathon of obstacles. And I said, this is my life.
Yeah.
This is what I'm built for. It just became this marathon of my life that I'm just constantly overcoming some kind of adversity. And so I'm never afraid to fail. I'm never afraid to put my feet in the sand and create roots. I'm never afraid to start over. Which I've had to do several times. I mean, even in this journey for the Instagram and all that stuff, it's like I hopped on there and said, there's nothing to be afraid of, to share your story, because you never know whose life it's going to impact. You never know who's going to see it and say, this is me. Why not me? And that's what the message is.
Something that was really important, like in the very beginning, which was about the overcoming your fear through the transparency.
Yep. Yeah. The transparency sometimes is a hard thing. Yeah. But it's important.
The whole idea of starting the Instagram page and putting your life out there, which is what you're doing now, somebody, and I always hope and pray for this, that somebody grabs the message and says, I am enough, especially with your message of body positivity and self-love.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's very hard when you have people I've had people in the body positive community combat me on my transparency and say, well, how could you promote, body positivity when you're showing before and after pictures? And I say, hey, first of all, body positivity is a self-love piece. I look at myself and say, wow, my body has carried my child, who is my entire world. My body has endured abuse from not just myself and self-harm, but from being in abusive relationships. My body has endured countless panic attacks and depressive episodes, and my body has driven me to be where I am today. And I should be proud of that, just as anyone who's going through a journey should be proud of, because your body is a vessel for your strength. Yeah. And you have the ability, emotionally, physically, mentally, to overcome your fear of strength. Physical strength, emotional strength. People have fear of being strong because they don't want it to be taken away from them. But I can tell you wholeheartedly, no one can take your strength away from you. Everything that you do for yourself in your eyes that's important to you, no one can take that away from you. Absolutely no one. And you should be proud of that, no matter what your body looks like now in this moment, no matter what your body has looked like 10 years ago, 10 years from now. Be in the moment. That's the one message that a lot of people forget, is be in your moment. Yeah. Listen to that song that makes you feel the fire in your soul. Wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to put my feet on the ground and I'm going to move forward. The momentum of always moving forward is so important.
Yeah, that's a crazy message, because a lot of times people wake up and they wake up to the fears and the noise of yesterday and the calamity of what's going on around them, or the storms that are going on around them. I don't know. Speak to our audience about your morning routine. Do you have like a affirmation or a song that you wake up to, or what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, for mornings, I had to break the cycle of waking defeated. A lot of people wake defeated. and they already wake defeated. So I had to wake up and say to myself, especially when I chose to start doing the 5 a.m. classes, because I'm like, man, my schedule was pushing me back and I couldn't get into my class with my people and my crew. And I had to get over my fear of getting up with those 5 a.m.ers because they're like the get in, get out crowd. And I'm like, you got to overcome it, right?
Yeah.
So I wake up, I put my feet on the ground and I say, just put your pants on. Just put your pants on, because the socks will follow, the shoes will follow. You're going to be out the door. And it's just, it's like you get into it where you're like, if I just put my feet on the ground, I will get out of bed and the momentum will take over. And it does. Even on my hardest days, I get up and say, gosh, even the days where yesterday's still kind of lingering, I know that if I step into my element and I put my shoes on and I walk through that door, I have overcome the defeat from yesterday.
Wow.
I've already overcome the defeat from yesterday just by stepping out my front door. That doesn't mean you have to step into a gym or a CrossFit. That could mean you just going to work. You just making yourself eat when you have no appetite. Those things matter. And the piece that's most important in the routine is to always know that each day holds your moment. Each day holds your momentum. Every day allows you to propel forward, knowing that if you continue forward, you will always have a changing, lasting result. You will always, if you continue forward, you look back 6 years, 6 months, whatever, you look back and you're like, wow, look how far I've come. And then you have those affirmative moments where you're like, wow, look how far I've come.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what propels me forward, is knowing that if I keep moving forward, I will be able to say to myself, look at how far I've come.
You said something that was really important about, moving forward. And like I said, a lot of times, like I coach clients around the world with their fat loss programs and everything. And sometimes, they get stuck in the whole ideal of the number on the scale. But we talked about, you talked earlier about body fat percentage. And I consider myself a fat loss coach because I coach from a perspective of losing fat.
Right. And it's so hard because fat is such a sharp word, right?
Yeah.
Fat is such a sharp word, even though it's a medical term, truly. Yeah. It's a sharp word when you're addressing somebody who wants to lose weight. They have to almost change their verbiage of I want to lose fat, because I've had times where I've lost weight and I've lost muscle. And then I'm like, no,
And that's my point, because the process is, supposed to make you stronger as you evolve through the process. But a lot of times people are stuck on the number on the scale. And when the number on the scale doesn't move, but their pants are fitting better, their clothes are fitting better,
exactly. And those are those non-scale victories. We have to highlight those. Yeah.
Those bio indicators that aren't even like on the scale or
exactly.
So I guess you talked a little bit earlier about, we're doing the in-body scans, which is body fat percentage. It measures a lot.
So the in-body scan does the muscle mass, so skeletal muscle mass, body fat, and water, and all of those things, and it all factors into your physical weight on the scale. And the way that it works is if, like when we're talking about your pants fitting lighter, but your scale doesn't move, right? Like your pants are fitting and you feel lighter, and your scale, only got, like, I hate saying only, but when your scale goes down like 0.6 ounces, right? And you're just like, okay, I've done everything. But that if you do the in-body scan, you'll see that you may have gained, 3 pounds of muscle and lost, 3 pounds of fat, so that number stays even. And it really puts perspective, because I'm like, man, I knew I even broke some PRs this week. Like, I know I feel better. And when I step on the in-body, it speaks to me, and I'm like, there it is. And if I've lost muscle, then I'm like, obviously I'm not eating enough. And that's the thing, is it's like, it's so important to eat, people think, oh, I have to restrict myself because I'm trying to lose weight. It's like, no, honey, if you want to lose fat, you got to eat.
Yeah.
You got to eat. If you want to gain muscle, you got to eat. Yeah.
So you talked about earlier how you lost weight initially, I guess back in 2006 maybe.
It was around 2010.
Okay.
I had lost 130 pounds naturally.
So talk to us about that in terms of like we were just discussing eating. So I guess initially, how did the first weight loss, how did that differ from where you are now? And how did the eating or the workouts change? Give me the whole psychology behind it all. Like, what was the approach? Was it more from like a therapy standpoint? Did you need therapy?
Yeah. This is, I really am thankful you're asking this, because this is something that some people in the weight loss community have overcome in regards to that kind of fallback piece and resetting, right? So the first time, and this is where, again, that self-love piece comes into where I'm at now. So the first time I was chasing numbers, the first time I was not doing this healthy. I was killing myself in the gym, going to the gym 2-3 times a day, taking classes at my college. I was restrictive. I would eat, 3 small meals a day, no snacking, because God forbid you have the extra calories when you're snacking and you've got to do cardio for an hour. No carbs, that kind of just restrictive. And it's sad, because truly, when I look back on it, I was anorexic, but I was in this 135-pound body of loose skin and just being tired all the time and losing my hair and never addressing the fact that I was starving physically, starving emotionally. I had lost my mother and I felt, God, I have nobody. This is like the only thing I have to chase is this number on the scale to feel like somehow I have validity, because I was always taught that my validity was behind that number on the scale. And a lot of women are taught this. A lot of women are taught your validity lies between 110 to 130 pounds. That's your validity. And it's chasing this number game, and it's so defeating and it's so exhausting.
Now,
and I got down to
it sounds like to me like a lot of maybe a lot of women deal with this, because I hear it a lot, because the initial weight loss may have come from a place of not so much self-love, maybe.
Right. That initial place was number running.
Yeah.
For sure.
So how do you make that transition over to loving yourself through the process? Because a lot of people are on Instagram, they're on all these social media outlets, and they hate themselves. They may look good on the outside. They may look like they've got this awesome transformation story, but they may not love themselves for who they are. But I guess speak to that real quick about.
I would say, and this is a wonderful question, is because you're right about some Instagrammers, they start to chase the followers instead of the number on the scale. And it's heartbreaking, because they're not looking to truly, maybe step outside of themselves and give themselves some love, and what really turned inward for me, and this will put perspective for people who are parents and who are not parents. But I'm going to try not to get emotional with this one, because having a child ignites something in you when you see your heart on the outside of your body. When you see this tiny person who is truly naive and new to this world, and it's in your hands to shape the way that they see themselves, because they mirror you. I mirrored my mother chasing every diet. I mirrored her putting herself down, because I saw her do it, and I said, I have to do it because she does it. Otherwise, she doesn't see me, And so I thought to myself, it is truly important that I speak life into myself so that my child reflects her life and her soul and who she is and who she will be. Because even though she's only 2 years old, she's already looking at her image and saying, wow, you're beautiful, when she sees herself in the mirror. And that's because that's what I choose to do for myself, so that I can be a reflection of what it means to be proud of who you are. Every time I've won a race, I put that medal around my daughter's neck. And it just reminds me that she will feel compelled growing, knowing that if she wants to do something for herself, I will not stop her. I will not instill fear into my child of failure. I will let her understand and know that there is no such thing as failure, only truly learning. Only truly learning. And what I mean by that is when you don't meet an expectation or you hit a wall, you go back, you ask for help, you move forward, and the momentum will carry you. And there is no failure in retrying. There is no failure in re-evaluating. And that piece is so important. And that's what changed for me, is when I stepped into this kind of fallback. I gained that weight plus some, and I looked at myself and I had this defeated mindset of, how did I get here again? I told myself I'd never get here again.
Sure.
And then you get there and you're like, you know what? I am not defeated. I am not defeated by the pain that I wear on my body. I began to go to a therapist. I think there's a lot of value in speaking to a professional, because some people live with things they don't realize they live with because they've been dealing with it their whole lives, and they don't have the proper coping tools or outlet to communicate how they truly feel. I think it's important to be challenged in a way that you challenge yourself. That's what a therapist does. A therapist helps you challenge yourself. It's not so much the therapist challenging you, it's the therapist saying to you, so, what do you need for you? Let's talk about that, and it's a tool for me. It became a tool. It became kind of this beacon of hope of like, hey, I'm allowed to turn my healing inward. And as much as I push outward to help others, the best helpers help themselves. Yeah. And I think it's important that people feel compelled and encouraged and empowered to step out and say, I'm allowed to help myself. So I turn that attention.
I'm sorry. They say whenever you're when the plane's going down, if you're on a plane, whenever the plane's going down, secure your mask first, and then you can secure the mask. Help other people secure their mask and secure their mask.
And exactly. And it's like this too. They say the best therapists have therapists.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
It's truly this each one teach one kind of mentality of if I'm this way and I'm doing these things and I'm speaking out on these things, I should be living in those things. And the self-love piece is so important in where I'm at now, because I'm celebrating things like cutting off time on my endurance, or I'm sitting there and I'm saying, wow, I added an extra 20 pounds to the bar today because I was really feeling it. It's like those are wins to me. And if my clothes change, or my even down to where like my shoe size has changed, those are things that I step back and say, wow. And I think another piece is when your family sees it, and when you have to address their subconscious reactions to the change. So I had just seen my family I haven't seen in 2 years.
Uh-huh.
The instant reactions are always like, oh my gosh, you look so good. And my reaction is, I feel amazing. Not, I know, I look great, I feel great, I feel amazing.
So not necessarily drawing attention to the look.
To say I feel good.
Yeah.
And to feel proud of different in a different light. Wow, I am proud. And
good.
It doesn't have an arrogance, and just this like, wow, I overcame so many inner dialogue battles of negative self-talk, of overcoming negative self-talk and replacing it, truly replacing it with positive affirmation and positive self-talk. That builds momentum. And that's my message to people, is for them to understand that your self-talk piece is just as important as the weight you put on your bar, is just as important of the food that you nurture is truly, truly a message for people to really take in, you know?
Sure. So real quick, before we're going to go ahead and land this plane. So before we land the plane, I do want to ask one question. And I ask this question on every interview because it's so, gives the opportunity for you to basically unveil, the thing that's helped you out the most, or that's helped you out in this journey the most.
Yeah.
Looking back, what's the single best piece of advice that you would give your old self when you first started this whole journey? Like, knowing what you know now, what would you have told Brandi back in 2010, 2009 or so, like around that time? What would you have told that Brandi?
Honestly, I would say it's okay to love yourself and challenge. It's okay to love yourself through change. It's okay to give yourself care and to challenge yourself in a way that only you are capable of. And no one, absolutely no one, can stop your momentum when you start moving forward. Absolutely.
Cool. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. So, Brandi, I do want to thank you so much for coming on to the Transformation Motivation Podcast. Such a bright, lovely, just uplifting spirit, and just the whole idea of self-love and positive affirmations and speaking nothing but positivity into yourself, into your life, and that's I try to embody that every single day, every single morning. I wake up with positivity and love because you make the choice. You make the choice
Absolutely.
every single
Yes.
day. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad that you've come on to spread that message of self-love, positivity, because you've got to be your own cheerleader sometimes.
Absolutely. Hey, no one, when you have nothing and you have no one, you have yourself. You have yourself, and it is absolutely important to pour into yourself and to give yourself what you need and what you deserve. You deserve to be valued. Absolutely. I
Totally.
am so grateful to have been a part of this today. I really, really appreciate your time, and I
Yeah,
hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week. So thank
absolutely.
you so
Now,
much for having me.
where would people be able to find you real quick before we get off? Where would
Yeah.
people be able to find you if they wanted to connect with you or they wanted to maybe, message you or like how would they connect with you?
Well, you can absolutely connect with me on Instagram. My handle is mama.brandi.gets.fit. And you won't miss me because my profile picture is a bright red picture because I used to have red hair. Um, and then if you want to add me on Facebook, you can search for me on Facebook. First name Brandi, last name Nelson. That picture's blonde though. I did change that one. And then if you want to shoot me an email, I absolutely encourage that. I have my email is selfloveinspires@outlook.com. And I would absolutely love to connect with anyone who just wants to chat, ask questions, or just needs somebody to talk to. You're truly, truly not alone. Absolutely not alone. And I am a real person. And as you can see here, I'm a talker, so don't be afraid to message me.
Absolutely. We love it. Love it. Love it. Love that you have such a great story, full of obstacles, challenges, and it shows people that you're real. We're all
Thank
real
you.
people who deal with real things. So, again, thanks for coming on to
Thank
the
you.
Transformation Motivation Podcast. And thank you all for listening. You guys have a fun, healthy, and fit day.